It's the most talked about TV show that's not on TV.
And I think you guys are amazing.
With raw, honest opinions.
This was not a mistake. This was a lie.
Exclusive stories.
Some industry insiders have been talking about this.
Is that a Ben Robin Robbo exclusive?
And plenty of famous faces.
I'm not wasting these gold moments on 60 Minutes.
The Ben Robin Robbo Show is the new way to stream your news.
This is the stuff that headlines are made of.
Live every Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Ticker TV or Facebook and Twitter at BRR Show. Watch live or on demand. Ben Robin Robbo. Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson. Ben Robin Robbo. It's the Ben Robin Robbo, Ben Robin Robbo Show, Ben Robin Robbo Show. Welcome to the Ben Robin Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello there and welcome to the Ben Robin Robbo Show for another big week. We've got a lot to talk about today and some two fine and fancy guys to do the talking. David Robinson and Benjamin Norris. Hello, Ben. How are you feeling today?
I feel great. It feels like the first episode, not the 101st episode, if that makes any sense.
It does make plenty of sense. So you're feeling like we're just starting afresh. Wipe the slate clean.
Yeah, 100%. I think, we've managed to pick up some amazing things that we've done, but, now we're sort of really kicking into a 2 point. I think is going to be fantastic for everybody.
Oh, I like that. Robbo, what about you? How are you doing on this day? Forgot to get the razor out today, hey?
Yeah, no, I did. I do apologise, but, it's just that rugged look. It's International Rugged Man Day. No, it's not. I made that up. But it would certainly fit it. Weirdly, talking about the first episode, I actually quickly watched a little bit of it the other day. It was dark. There were no lights on. It was black. We've come a long way. We found the light switches, so that's good.
We have.
A friend of mine said it looked like we were coming live from the pokies.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've evolved. What can we say? We've evolved. Look, there is a lot coming up today. We're going to talk to one of our viewers on the Ben Robin Robbo Show who is dealing with a condition that's really interesting to talk about and the struggle she's been through. You all know Amanda on our Facebook page. Her story is really, really insightful. Plus, there are concerns for a star. Very, very big concerns over her mental state of health. But in lighter news, we'll also be talking TV with Molk, and there's lots happening there. And Ben will have some lighter entertainment stories as well. But first, let's get into our hot button issues of the day. And it's finally happening. Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has agreed to release his and his senior staff's phone records. Those records have become the focus of the inquiry into the hotel quarantine debacle. Now, specifically, the inquiry is trying to determine who made the decision to use private security guards instead of police at various quarantined hotels. The state's deadly second wave and stage 4 lockdown can be traced back to those hotels. Sky's Peter Credlin has been at the forefront of trying to get answers about the phone records.
But I might state that Chris Eccles, your records, Lisa Neville's records, and indeed your Chief of Staff's phone records, none of those at all have been provided to this inquiry. And I would think that that would be a very important piece of evidence to any inquiry worth its salt.
Well, you may choose to reflect on the inquiry. I'm not. They will seek what they believe is appropriate. And I don't think anyone.
I'm making the point they don't have the powers under the State Inquiries Act.
No, but with the greatest of respect, though, you've just gone a little bit further than that, and perhaps given the inference that things have not been provided to the inquiry. The inquiry didn't seek any of the material that you've just outlined. So I wouldn't want anyone listening or watching at home to think that there was some material that was not handed up. It was not sought.
Well, since that exchange, the inquiry has asked for those records and they have been given. And that decision to release the documents has already claimed a senior scout. The Secretary of Victoria's Department of Premier and Cabinet, Chris Eccles, has resigned. His records show he did have contact with the then Police Commissioner, Graham Ashton, on the day the quarantine program began. He'd previously had said to the inquiry in September he could not recall calling the Commissioner. Ben, you've been very supportive of Daniel Andrews, as we all have, but look, things are unravelling. Does he still enjoy your full support?
Yes, he does. I think he's doing a fantastic job. I think what he has been doing is trying to get those numbers as low as Anastasia Palaszczuk and Gladys Berejiklian, so that we always will know if someone comes up with a positive result, that we know where it came from. We need to get it to that point of being contained. They're the strictest guidelines in Australia. It's been really tough. I can see where this journalist is coming from, but I will say to her, when you're going through someone's phone records and you're reading other people's texts, you can kind of read into things the way you want to. And he's been very transparent, so he's handed that over. But haven't we all been in a situation where we've wanted to read a partner's phone, or been in a situation where we've wanted to read text messages? You kind of can make what you want of it. And is it something that we really need to do? Because we know mistakes were made.
I think this is very different, very different. We're talking about a situation where we've had a scalp claim today because the testimony he gave to the Commission was at odds with his actual phone records. And Robbo, I've got to say, Peter Credlin came down for a lot of fire last week, especially on Twitter, over the fact that she dared go to this. She's not a journalist. She shouldn't be there. That she was just trying to cause problems for the ALP because she was Tony Abbott's chief of staff when he was Prime Minister. The fact is that her questions have led to the inquiry seeking this information, and it has shed new light. You have to say her questions actually got results.
She presents a news program on Sky News. Whether you like the way that Sky News, pivots in their demographic, but they're very open about that. I think that there's no problem with having her there. I think that the support possibly for the government needs to start to be looked at. They're saying that they haven't been asked for those records, but the whole time we've been trying to find out exactly what happened in those 6 minutes, and also what was did someone in the Premier's office or high in the government say, yeah, we're going to go with private security instead of police. Now, Ben, you're saying that he's still doing a great job, but you're in stage 4 lockdown because of a decision that's made that clearly is going to start to come out now, and they don't want it to. So you still think that Dan Andrews is doing a great job, even though his government has clearly started to lie?
Started to lie, or are you saying that they may have covered up some bits and pieces? I don't know. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I support the government wholeheartedly.
They have covered them up. That's what we're finding. So we're now getting those phone records and those text messages, and it's showing already now. This guy in September couldn't recall having a phone call, and now that he's had to actually forcibly give up his phone records, bloody hell, I can't believe I forgot that 2-minute call that possibly decided one of the biggest things to happen during Victoria's pandemic response. I don't understand how you can't see where this is possibly going to get bad, and there are still a lot of answers that need to be given.
Yeah, I think that it is disappointing, and I think that was a disappointing result. But at the same time, I am of the likes of wanting to support Dan Andrews. I think he's doing a great job. I think that mistakes have been made, and we're trying to move past that. He's given this information across now, and, what people need to do with that will be done. And yes, if people have lied and have done the wrong things, they will lose their jobs. If it is proven that Daniel Andrews has done something that is really bad, then he will lose his job as well. But at this stage, I want to still support the Premier. And I'm in stage 4 lockdown and hating it, so...
Yeah, and look, I think that's a very fair point, Ben. Dan Andrews hasn't actually been found to have done anything wrong. There's no doubt. I was literally just watching the press conference before we went to air, and Peter Credlin was, again, trying to nail Dan Andrews, but... the problem is for her that none of that is sticking to the Premier. Those around him, there looks to be more than what has been revealed, but he has certainly gone into this inquiry, given one statement, and he made the point, I haven't had to amend my statement. I went in, I told the truth, I gave the facts. You know, he hasn't had to amend anything where other people that have given evidence to the inquiry have had to amend their statements. So whatever you think of the government and the people around that and the bureaucrats, Dan Andrews does seem to be playing with integrity, and I think that's what Victorians have gravitated towards. All right. Let's move on. And Channel 9 presenter Erin Molan is angry and she's not going to take it anymore. The popular sports presenter appeared on last night's 60 Minutes in a story about trolls and social media, and she didn't hold back.
You're not big, you're not tough, you're scum of the earth.
You genuinely want people locked up?
Absolutely I do. This is about every single Australian because this impacts every single Australian. The time to ignore trolls is over. The time to prosecute trolls is here. You know, you go to any of the rugby league sites online, and believe you me, I don't go to them anymore, but every single one was either that I was a woman, that I was ugly, that I looked like a slut, that I'd never played the game, that I belong in the kitchen. Different footballers that I've had dalliances with, about bosses at Channel 9 that I must have slept with. It's just vile.
Well, Molan is continuing her fight, and she's already met with the Prime Minister and the Communications Minister, who promised change is coming. She also wants to see a public education campaign rolled out nationally. Robbo, some powerful words from Erin there. I've got to say, I think everyone on social media should have to use their real name. I think if you want to put these vile and toxic comments to people, and I've copped a few over the years, put your name on them. Own up, own it. If you want to attack people, you do it under your name and not some private account.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm not very good at standing up to bullies or anything like that, but I always feel kind of a sense of being above someone who doesn't have a profile picture and doesn't have their real name. And I just think, ugh, and I don't engage. And I often say, well, I'm not engaging with you because you don't have your real name or your photo. These people are absolutely gutless. And I believe that there should be more resources put into, from a legal point, from a judicial point, to investigate these people, because you couldn't say what these people say to other people in public, in the workplace. You couldn't do it. Some of these awful things that people say. So, yeah, they should start to be held accountable. These keyboard warriors, if you believe so much in what you're saying, if you believe so much that that person's wrong or this person shouldn't do that, own it. Don't, because clearly you're a piece of shit if you do it behind a fake name. And I'm serious, if you do it behind a fake name and no profile, you are a piece of shit. And just don't say it, because you don't help the argument. You don't, propel any kind of discourse that could work out to be something different. You don't do any of that. Yeah, I've already said that word
yes,
twice,
you have,
so
multiple
I won't
times.
say it again.
Ben,
Makes me angry.
When I was copping a lot of backlash over our Pete Evans interview, a lady on Twitter who didn't use her name was attacking me. And I said, look, I'm happy to have the discussion with you, but you're attacking me. You know who I am. I don't know who you are. And I'm not going to engage with that. And she said, well, you can't expect that. I'm allowed to have an opinion just because I don't use my real name. I'm a woman. If I use my real name, I'll get attacked. And I took a moment and thought, yeah, look, I do understand that could be a valid argument. But at the end of the day, we all have to take responsibility for our opinions, good, bad, and ugly. The three of us give opinions here each and every day. Anyone could take one of our opinions and make a big issue of it, because opinions are not based in fact, they're based on how we feel. And we need to take responsibility for that. And we learn and we grow and opinions change. But these people who attack us on social media also need to take responsibility for what they're saying, surely.
Yeah, look, I think that there's some valid things in what you guys are saying, but look, maybe it's because I've been through this and it was a while ago now. So, 2012 is a long time, but, a News Limited article had me ranked in the top 10 most trolled people in the country. I think I came in at number 2. I might have come in at number 3, I'm not sure, but Charlotte Dawson was number 1. I became quick friends with... Yeah, well, I became quick friends with Charlotte. She got in contact with my partner and I, and she flew me to Sydney and we hung out, and she was able to really share her story. The one thing I must admit that I learnt from that experience, once Charlotte Dawson, due to mental health reasons, and probably due to a percentage of that being that she was trolled.
We have to say it. For those who don't know, and I'm sure everyone does, Charlotte Dawson took her own life, and as a result, many believe, of the trolling she was getting on social media. Sorry, Ben, go on.
Look, I think that, I don't think I've really spoken about this before, and I think that there's some truth in this. Charlotte was in a bad way already.
Sure.
And I don't think that she... you can't say that it was the trolling exactly. And the one thing I felt difficult about at the time, losing a friend like that, was I had pleaded with her to stop reading these. We are living in a time where people feel like it's their right to have an opinion. I can see that there's some value, Rob, in you wanting people to be accountable and have their face there and have their name there. I think there's going to be a long time before we get to that point, but we do need to look within ourselves and recognize an opinion is someone else's opinion. And we need to just understand who we are. We need to have some faith in who we are and distance ourselves from something that is just really negative. Yeah, but Rob, I think that, it was interesting watching the two of you talk about that Pete Evans situation. And, I watched the tweets coming through. They weren't thousands of tweets. They were people with a very strong opinion about Pete Evans. And I could see that the two of you struggled with it. I didn't struggle with it as much. I just
responded to them because I will take them on, and I answered every one. But when I'm getting people saying they hope I get waterboarded and hope I get taken out, they'd watch that. I think there's a level of nastiness that if their friends and family of the person who wrote that knew what they were writing on social media, do you think their friends and family and their work colleagues and their bosses would actually accept that kind of commentary? You want to threaten physical violence against me? You want to see me dead? Well, then take responsibility for it. If you're prepared to say that in the middle of your workplace, well, then good on you. If you're prepared to put it up on a billboard, good on you. But if you're not, well, then you don't deserve the time of day because you are not someone who believes in the things you say. Because if you do, you will wear it as a badge of pride and say it properly.
Yeah, I know, but accountability is a really tough thing. It is really hard because I don't necessarily think you are going to get...
You should be accountable for what you're saying. How is accountability a hard thing? If people had said to Erin Molan that they want to rape her 2-year-old daughter and that they would kill her newborn, there should be no... How is accountability hard there? They should be held accountable for that kind of vile attack. I don't understand.
Right at that level, I understand it. Right at that level, when you hear those sorts of things, there's a line that needs to be crossed. But what I'm talking about is the difficulty of qualifying what is bullying and what isn't, and then which tweets are opinions-based and which ones are...
I'm talking about taking responsibility for the words you put on social media. I'm not even saying it's bullying. I'm just saying opinions. I mean that everybody should be forced to put their name on their social media accounts and take responsibility for the things that they believe in, and then the things that they want to attack other people over, and then the things that they want to threaten other people over, and then the vile things we get with Erin Molan.
Disgusting.
I'm not just talking about the bullying. I'm not talking about the extreme end. I just think accountability is a great thing, and we're now getting to the stage where everyone should be held accountable.
Yep.
There's no doubt in my mind, but I also want to be able to speak very clearly about the reality of messages coming through on social media to people who may not be strong enough or may not have had that experience to cope with it. And that is, if you see someone tweeting you something negative, if they have said that sort of stuff, you have a few options. You can report them and you can block them, and you can honestly look within yourself and realize that that person saying that about you probably says more about them. And I reckon 99% of the things that have been said negatively to me on social media has had, it's a question to them. They're saying something about me, but it's how they feel about themselves. And so I want people to realize once they are being negatively tweeted like this, you block them, you report them, you move on, and you go and find a friend that, is going to boost you up that day, because that is important and that is how we deal with it. And in the meantime, while people like this can take it to the government and we can try and find out other ways of dealing with it, which is going to be a long time coming,
Sure.
We just need to put those small practices in place. That's all I'm getting at.
Really good advice. Don't forget Beyond Blues there, 1300 224636. And I would say again that what they post is more about them, as Ben said, than about you. Yeah. And it shows what a sick individual they are, that, you know, humanity is not about doing what's right when you're a public face. Humanity and treating people right is within. And if you think it's okay to have a hidden account and treat people like shit, then you're a shit human being. All right, let's move on.
Well said.
Well, it's a punishment we're all familiar with. Act up in school and you could face a suspension. But could this be something of the past? The New South Wales Teachers Federation, along with others, have written to the New South Wales Education Minister proposing change to the current method. Under the proposal, the maximum suspension period would be cut from 20 days to 10, and if the student is in kindergarten up to year 2, they could only be suspended for serious physical violence and for a maximum of 5 days. Instead, they raised the need for more specialist staff and early intervention. This proposal emerges as statistics show vulnerable and minority students, particularly those with disability or Aboriginal or Torres Strait Island descent, are far overrepresented in suspensions. Yeah, look, I take the point about minorities and everything like that, but Robbo, the problem becomes if you have a disruptive force in a school, that is disrupting the classroom and disrupting other kids from learning. I think we would all agree here that, yes, put more resources in, absolutely. But, you know, sometimes kids just need to be taken out so other people can get on with learning, don't they?
Yeah, I get that, and you're right. I think we would all agree that there needs to be far more resources. I didn't realise that anyone in kindergarten would get expelled or suspended. I didn't either. That sentence,
I'm sure that's
really shocked me. Well, I think last year I read that there was about over 1,300 kids in like kindergarten to year 2 had been suspended. Now,
really,
if you're that young and you're getting suspended, there are some heavy issues that need to be looked at. The school is the front line, really. So I think if you're a child that young and you're doing something so bad that you need to get suspended, there's something wrong at home. There needs to be more investigation.
I don't know if it's just at home, but that could be undiagnosed issues like autism or ADHD.
Yeah, of course. Like yeah. But more resources. Don't just cut the times and go from 20 days to 10 days as the maximum. Find out why these kids are like that. Maybe some of them are just naughty. Maybe. I don't believe that, though. And there's issues at home. There's issues that you said that they haven't been diagnosed with. This is such the wrong way to go. Find out what's wrong with the kid. Get in there quickly, help them out, send the resources. These bureaucrats who sit in a bloody office building, government office building somewhere going, well, yeah, we should do that. Well, guess what? All the people on the front line, the PNC, the principals, the teachers, all of those people who actually spend their time in a classroom don't agree with you. So why was there no kind of talking through it or, getting together and having a meeting and brainstorm? There wasn't any of that. It's bureaucratic bull. I've already used my quote for that word. But you know what I mean? Don't you like?
Yeah. Ben, yeah. It is difficult, isn't it? Because I come back to that thing that if there are disruptive forces, they are stopping other kids. And I'm not really thinking kindergartens. I think kindergarten to year 2. I want to go beyond that because I think really if we're talking about issues where kids are being suspended, we're talking about undiagnosed problems. But I think as we start getting older, Ben, there is an issue that other kids' education is being affected.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely disappointing. I think, when other kids are there trying to do the right thing and they're trying to learn, I think, parents, principals are obviously trying to do the right thing. But I do think that it's important for parents not to be turning into the Karens and Rob, the Tims of the world and, coming in and being too challenging. I think that isn't really needed. But I still think it's important for the parents to get involved and try and at an early stage before suspension is actually put into place. And I think there's a little bit of negotiating that needs to happen there. Obviously the case needs to be put forward. The child is disrupting the class. What are we going to do about it? And I think that those sort of more educational, more learning processes like that need to sort of come into play. I know that my parents both spent a majority of their careers working in education. And a lot of my family actually, and one of my best friends is a teacher, they're always trying to evolve with the ways in which they can make the classroom run smoothly. And some of the best results that I've ever heard across tables of listening to people talk about their jobs is communicating with the parents and trying to find out what the best scenario is and learning from that. And sometimes that can put an end to further problems within these troubled people trying to get their education as well.
I always tell my kids about the time when I almost got the cane, and the principal opened his cupboard of canes, pulled one out, and just bent it in front of me. You know, like, oh, you're gonna get this.
How old are you?
I was thinking that too.
I was on the tail end. I was on the tail end of when I think canes were starting to be phased out. But I'm 47. For the record.
Really?
Yeah. All right.
You know what? I will just quickly say. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
I was just going to say, my mother, she came in and met with a teacher and a principal when I got nearly suspended for something. And Mum actually was like, "I support my son." You know, she believed what the reasons as to why I'd chosen to make that decision. And it was interesting. You know, once she went in and spoke to them, I actually wasn't suspended. And that was a really good outcome. But I'd never forget being in the car on the way home and my mum saying to me that she'd been. She got into trouble for picking the varnish off her desk at school, and she never stopped talking in the classroom. So she was like, "How can I punish you for some of the things that I probably did myself?"
No wonder
Just
you
quickly,
think you can get
though,
away
Ben,
with everything.
Yeah, Ben, we've just received thousands of messages just at the BRR show. What was it that you almost got suspended for?
You know
We're all
what?
wondering.
That is a story for another time.
No, I can tell you really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Robbo asked me, and I'm answering the question. One of my really good friends, one of my girlfriends at school, she dyed her hair red, and she got told she couldn't come to school the next day if her hair was still red. So I made sure that I bought hair dye and dyed as many people in my year level as possible their hair red. And it was a bit of a protest, and that was the reason why they tried to suspend me.
That's commendable, Ben, actually. As for my story, Robbo, about the paddle bat, and I've got a few stories. We'll tell you that maybe on a Tipsy Thursday. All right, let's move on. There's a promise. An anonymous former WAG has revealed what it's really like to be a wife or girlfriend in the NRL. The explosive claims include being given anti-chlamydia medication disguised as vitamins to cover up their partner's infidelity, witnessing excessive drug use, and the hiring of prostitutes. She has said that all of the clubs are complicit, lack integrity, and are in place solely to protect the interests of the game. She also spoke of taxi drivers turning up at her house with incriminating photographs or stories, and the club handing out thousands of dollars of cash and season passes to buy their silence. Are we surprised by this? For all the talk of the NRL clubs and the AFL clubs of, it's the integrity of the game where, you know, where it's all clean and all that kind of stuff. I've never believed it for a second, Ben.
Yeah, well, I've got a few girlfriends that have dated football players before, and I must say, you know, now that I'm 40, they're about my age. They were, you know, dating football players in the heyday 20 years ago, and things have changed. So whilst I talk about this, I believe that things might be a little bit different this day and age, but certainly the WAGs out there have got some amazing stories. You know, some of the things that the footballers get away with back, you know, from what I heard, was just outrageous, and the support come from the top.
Which they still do unless they're caught. Unless they actually shoot the video of themselves urinating in their mouth, that's when it becomes a story. I'll
tell you one of my own. I worked in a hotel.
Don't tell me you did the bubbler, please.
Did the what?
The bubbler. There was the famous NRL player who was on video weeing into his mouth, and they call it the bubbler, apparently.
I don't know anything about that. That's a water sport that I've never played. But I will say that I'm not good with sports. What can I say? But I was working at this hotel, and on grand final night, this team won the grand final, so I was looking after them. I'm not going to say the sporting team, but none of the wives were staying in the hotel rooms that night, which I thought was really odd. But I tell you what, I'd worked in the hotel leading up to that point. I'd met the wives throughout the season, loved all of them. And interestingly, some of them were in on it. Some of them even said to me, "Look, Ben, the boys have done so well, they deserve this." And they got given by their own wives the chance to go and do whatever they wanted with whoever they wanted on this grand final night. So I don't think it's specific to, you know, just being black and white. I think that there's a lot of things at play when it comes to Australian sporting people, and whether or not the wives are in on it or not, it's definitely a very different circumstance to the relationships I'm in, I guess.
No, that's what
the
Amanda did on
relationship,
our
I should
100th
say.
episode.
What?
Oh, she wishes. She wishes she could.
All right. It's time for a hit of entertainment. And Ben, we love a reunion. Who has buried the hatchet?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys were a massive fan of Little Britain back in the day, but I tell you what, last night in the UK, it was Britain's Got Talent's finale, and everyone was talking about the reunion of sorts. One of the biggest feuds of all time is the boys from Little Britain, but last night we got to see them both on screen for the first time in a long time, so check this out. Yeah, it's a very quick. Can I just say, this is not the reunion that everyone was talking about. Everyone's like, I can't believe they're back together. This is Matt Lucas and David Williams, by the way. But what had actually had happened was that, you know, one of them is the host, is one of the judges on the show, and the other one turned up in one of the performances, which was obviously what you just saw there, a bit of Les Miserables. But I wouldn't necessarily say that that is the biggest reunion. But I want to ask you guys, when it comes to feuds that we see in the media, who's somebody that you guys can think of that's had a massive feud that should get back together?
Look, it's one really close to my heart. I think they're two people that have been on the world stage for many, many, many years, but they never seem to be able to come together like I think they should. And that is Ronald McDonald and the Colonel Sanders. I just think that I'd love to see those two people come together, bury the hatchet. You know, they both have chicken. They both got burgers. I just want to see what they could do. Imagine the world, a wonderful world where two people at the top of their game could come together and we'd all just...
It's called a food court.
Get something together.
I do have to say, Ben, I do have to say that was a pretty lame reunion. I did expect much more.
I like it.
And, you know, like, because they have had a falling out and they were so close. So it was pretty, it was a pretty piss ball reunion. I will give you that. What else do you have
It was
coming
so
up
bad,
for
Rob.
us?
No, Rob, you didn't tell us who's your feud? Who's somebody that you think should get? Because mine was Tom and Nicole. I think Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman should make another film, but I'm sure you've got someone.
You know what? Two people did pop into my head, but I actually don't want to say. So that's why I was quickly trying to move on.
I want to know who that is.
Oh my God,
now.
that is too much. That is too much of a tease. Can you just give us like the slightest?
All right, Ita and Denise. I'd love to see them back together.
Okay, well.
Now do you know why I was moving on? What's coming up in entertainment?
We've got a segment on...
I've done it again.
We've got a segment on Brussels sprouts coming up and how they can be bad for relationships.
Don't bring up the bloody Brussels sprouts.
Everyone's shaking their head at me. Look, we're going to be talking Borat. We're going to be talking a few things. Sorry, Rob McKnight, I can't see... Yeah, Rob,
I was in the room I was in the room.
About 10 minutes away.
Is that next?
I want to know more about this Brussels sprout thing, but we've got to move on. I'll be back with more entertainment.
I can hear Amanda yelling, no. No. I love it. No.
Robbo, over to you.
Yes. What for? Oh, that's right. On this day. Yeah, sorry.
For God's sake.
Every
See,
time.
I just have such a good
Every
time.
bloody day. Rob, let me do a segment. Let me do a segment.
I've
Okay,
never
Robbo?
said that to you. No, I've never actually said that to you because the reason I've never said that to you... Alrighty, let's have a look back through history on what happened on this day, October 12th. Let's have a look. Roll the overlay, Amanda. Oh, there we go. On this day in 1810, the first Oktoberfest was held in Munich. It was a day King Ludwig married Princess Therese and the citizens were invited to celebrate the royal event. Since then, it has become the world's largest beer festival and fun fair. Now a 16 to 18-day affair with replicas all over the world. In 2013, 7.7 million litres of beer was consumed at the event. You can be very bloated after that. And from Germany to Rio de Janeiro now, when it was on this day in 1931 that Christ the Redeemer statue was opened on top of Mount Corcovado. It stands at 128 feet high and its arms stretch out to 92 feet wide. In 2006, it was named one of the 7 new wonders of the world, alongside the Taj Mahal, Great Wall of China, and Machu Picchu. And finally, it was on this day in 1997 when American country singer John Denver really was leaving on a jet plane as he piloted his experimental plane and crashed into Monterey Bay, unfortunately losing his life. Always lovely to end on this day with an uplifting.
You made me laugh during an in
story.
memoriam, leaving on a jet plane. I mean, that's bad taste. And it's Corcovado.
Yeah, mate. When you can do it, you let me. You
Yeah,
correct
I know.
me when you can do it, big fella. No, that great line was from Abby, our producer. Well done. And look, people who are watching at home will know you just have so much fun with this. You think, you don't know what's coming up. We should have a rundown. That would be good if we had a rundown that I could look and see what was coming up. We'll obviously try and put that into action before
Shall I
tomorrow.
bring up the actual rundown, Robert?
Do you want to see the rundown on the screen? We've had
we got a special guest.
Okay, great.
We got a special guest coming up.
Well, Robbo, thank you very much for that.
Sorry.
No one believes what he's saying anyway. It's a joke. He knows there's a rundown. Everyone knows there's a rundown. It's all good.
Indeed. Let's move on. Well, it's the most common personality disorder in Australia, with 2 to 5% of people affected at some stage in their lives. However, borderline personality disorder remains largely under-researched and misunderstood. Here to talk about it, we're joined by one of our viewers, our lovely viewer, Amanda Steelby. Amanda, welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Hi, nice to see you all.
It's nice to see you too. You comment every day on the show and you are a big part of the Studio 10 audience. Robbo and I have known you for years. But when and how were you diagnosed with borderline personality disorder?
It was actually a little bit of a process. So my first hospitalization was when I was 37. And from that, I was given a diagnosis of dysthymia with a category B personality disorder, because 1 week isn't enough time to diagnose a personality disorder.
Yeah.
And then I was seeing a clinical psychologist, and it was about a year later that she told me.
So, Amanda, can you take us through some of your symptoms?
So, the ones that people see are that I get stressed and anxious really easily. I get overwhelmed easily. I can seem like everything's going fine. Somebody says something and I will explode in anger. So they're the ones that people see. Internally, I will quite often be feeling overwhelmed, and because of what I'm doing, I just won't show it. And I get suicidal ideation really easily. So I have really strong internal negative self-talk.
You know, what I'd love to ask you is, how did this affect you on a daily basis before you were diagnosed versus sort of how it affects you now that you are aware of it? Like, how does it affect you in your daily routine?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I would have a really explosive temper. So I'd be one of those people that you'd look at sideways and suddenly I'd be yelling and screaming. And if it was one of my bad days, it would take me the rest of the day to calm down. I remember through my teen years spending a lot of time in my room reading, because escaping into the books was one of the things that calmed me down. So, so I just remember being angry a lot. But I could also have times where I was like happy and engaged, but yes, with having the undiagnosed dysthymia as well, I spent a lot of the time in a depressive state.
Amanda, you used to come to the audience of Studio 10 every day. It seemed to be your happy place, but you started having episodes while you were in the audience, and it actually led to you having to have some time away from Studio 10. Tell me what was going through there, because it was a very scary time for you and also for the people around you.
So that was one of my times where my suicidal ideation was playing up. So when that happens, I have an almost constant chatter in my head unless I'm actively distracting myself. And so then that just I end up with a really short fuse, something that would normally be a 2 in the annoyance factor is like a 9 or 10. So it takes something really, really small to like explode. And and it's very hard to feel happy. You're just down. And the thing is, borderline down very closely mimics depression and like having major depression, but the difference is medication doesn't do any difference.
Well, this was an interesting time for you because it felt like Studio 10 was such a big part of your world, but it became a place where it didn't feel like it was safe for you being around other people in that studio, and you had to be removed from that situation. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And I actually didn't know what the right thing to do was because I cared very deeply for you. And I still to this day don't know if I made the right decision with that. And I've always wondered how that affected you being taken away from the thing that you loved.
It did take me a while to get over it. Like for a week or two, I couldn't watch the show.
Yeah.
But like started watching it again. It was that before I started going to Studio 10, I basically wasn't leaving the house for 6 months before that. I probably left the house when I was seeing my case manager or occasionally going grocery shopping. Otherwise, I was just at home, and most of the days where I was at home, I don't bother shower, get dressed, any of that stuff. And that's actually why when you met me, I had a shaved head, because my hair was getting matted so often that when I needed to brush it, it was taking me more than a half an hour. And I just was sick of that. And so I had the whole thing shaved off, and I probably had it like that for about 18 months.
You know, You are a fascinating person because you're one of the most intelligent people I know, especially when I look at the feedback you give. And you and I have stayed in contact. We're Facebook friends. You message me with stuff and you talk on the page, the Ben Robin Robbo page, and your commentary is always so insightful. How do you reconcile the fact that, to me, you are a really intelligent person, but you're having to constantly deal with this other side of you?
I don't reconcile it. It's both of them are true. That's one of the reasons that I actually have trouble getting services. People that are high functioning, there aren't services designed for us because they just assume that because you're articulate, you've got it all together. So it's actually a double-edged sword that's the case.
Well, if you are struggling, remember that help is out there. You can call Beyond Blue on 1300 22 4636 or the Suicide Call Back Service on 1300 659 467. Amanda, I think you are an inspiration. Thank you for joining us and telling us your story today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
It's the red light shot of the day.
Amazing.
Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random life shot of the day.
Don't worry, I definitely remembered this one. This time we are taking you to the beautiful panorama of Nha Trung, seaside in Vietnam. That's Nha Trung in Vietnam. Look at that wonderful, they do some wonderful work with circles there where they can project that kind of
I think we might have a
firework into
buffering
the sky.
issue.
That's fantastic. I wasn't going to mention it. It is a rainy day today and a muggy 32 degrees after a low of just 25. Let's get to some feedback now on the Ben Robin Robbo show. They're beautiful Vietnam there. From Travis, the show looks a lot better than the early days. Thank God you guys found the light switches. That's very, very bloody true, Travis. Justine says trolls don't always believe what they write. They write crap simply for the reactions. That's actually very true. They just want to get a rise out of people, which also shows us what pieces of... Claire says, I hate I'm entitled to my opinion. Yes, but learning when and where is appropriate is part of being a grown-up. Claire, I agree with you on that one. Cameron says, bullies in the schools and bullies in the adult world, will we ever grow up? No, probably not. Graham says, lol, I got in trouble in year 1 for kissing a girl in the playground. You know what? Weirdly, Graham, so did I. It was a weird time for me. Cameron says the wags forgot to mention drugs and sex tapes. Lol. Oh, that's true, but
Right.
Mary says, hello, Mary. I heard Bert and Ernie don't speak offset.
And I think that's enough, Mary.
Apparently,
Thank
Bert
you for
has a
that.
Coke issue. He has been through some
Coca-Cola,
bad
that
times.
is.
Robbo
Oh,
was asleep at the job
that's
again. Thanks, Graham. Okay, I was just having a good time, mate. Whatever. Matthew says, good on you for sharing your story, Amanda. It's an important message to get out there. We couldn't agree more. Remember, there's always help for you out there. Rob McKnight, back to you, friend.
Thank you very much. It's time to talk TV with the man in the know, Steve Molk from TV Black Box. Hello, Molky.
Molky.
Hello, everyone. Are we still on holidays?
Oh, you're very soft, Molky.
Your audio is.
Hi, Molky. Oh, we can't hear him.
Hello.
Is that maybe that's
We
why I
can't
couldn't
hear
hear
Molk.
him in the tech checks? I thought my talkback was wrong. Can we hear you, Molk?
I can hear you.
You're really, really soft, Molk.
We can't hear you.
What's going on there? It sounds
Oh, no.
I've turned it up as much
Thank
as
God
I
we're not
can.
live. Yeah.
just as well, right? So do
Yeah.
I tell you what. What we'll do is I'll ask Molk just to have a look at his settings, and we'll jump to entertainment if we can, Ben. And I'll ask you
yeah, we
this. Look, there's a really serious story. There are sad times for a popular actress. Can you tell me about this story?
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. So, frog in my throat. Actress Tatum is allegedly suicidal and threatened to jump off a balcony in her Los Angeles home. This apparently had happened.
Oh, Ben, sorry. I apologise, guys. I was trying to talk to Molk, and the talkback switcher has obviously turned you off, Ben, when I was trying to talk to him. How long were you not talking for?
I was not very long.
That whole time.
Not very long.
Yeah.
For the
It's
whole
fine.
topic?
But let's move on and talk about the Animaniacs.
All right, what's happening there?
Alrighty, so, Robert, do you love the dedication to that? It was good, wasn't it?
Why are you laughing?
I got teased for not being aware, but then, yeah, what's happening in that thing
Don't
on that
you
day
dare.
with this
You-
thing? Yeah.
I love it.
Couple of
It
things.
was so
I'm
good.
jumping all over the rundown. I'm trying to talk to Molk, who doesn't have his thing. And I
know,
want to
we
make
get it.
sure
We
we
love
got
you.
through
It's
the Tatum O'Neill, because that's a really serious story, Ben. Let's just jump back for a moment. That is a really serious story. People are genuinely concerned for her safety.
Yeah, but she has been able to now. I mean, I delved a little bit deeper than some of the original stories that were out there, and she has been getting the right help. So she was hospitalized. This was a story that actually surfaced a month ago. So it's alleged particular incident where police were called to her apartment, and she was taken into a hospital, and she's been getting the right sort of medical advice and help. So as I was saying, hopefully we'll get some more happy news for the fans of Tatum O'Neill.
Yeah, okay. Look, you were a big fan of the 90s hit cartoon, the Animaniacs. Animaniacs.
This is bad. But look, we're going to move on. We're going to get to this because I need to get to this part and we've got to get back to Molk. So I just want to say I'm a massive Jurassic Park fan, massive fan of Animaniacs, and they are getting a reboot, which is really exciting. And the first promo came out yesterday, putting those two favorite things of mine together. Check this out.
Alan, this species of cartoon has been extinct since 1998. I mean, these haven't been seen on TV since the golden era of animation. And what?
Mate, I've now got no audio levels.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I like the takeoff. That cartoon, that animation means absolutely nothing to me. Nothing.
Yeah, because we found out earlier in the episode that you grew up in the 1800s when they still gave kids the strap. When Robbo and I went to school, we had cartoons in colour. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you can't believe you missed out on the Animaniacs. Robbo, did you love them as much as I did on the WB network?
I do, and you know what I love? I just love because they take the P out of everything. So you saw the little WB logos there. They had the same music, the silly sound effects. I'm very excited about this. I hadn't seen this yet, so thank you very much, Ben.
Well, it only came out yesterday,
You ready to go?
Beg your pardon?
It's your question. You ready to
ask me about Borat? Go on.
I was doing some I was doing I don't know. Let me explain to you how television works. I asked a question. We had a little bit of Ben was saying something,
and then when Ben
stops talking,
there was a 3-second silence, and you still hadn't asked the question.
Oh, okay, go back to your talk back there where everyone can hear you say, "Mate, I still can't hear you." Anyway,
did that go to air?
Yes,
Yes,
mate.
yeah.
So maybe those in glass houses don't throw stones. I don't know. Hey, Ben, Borat joined Twitter. I'm very excited about this. What can you tell us?
Yeah, look, Borat has delighted fans by joining social media yesterday, and in true Borat style, he has come out being quite polarizing. He's supporting US President Donald Trump, but the way in which Borat is supporting Donald Trump, we are seeing some pretty outrageous tweets coming through. I think I've got some footage of that and some of those tweets in something that's going to appear.
No, it didn't come through,
No,
Ben.
we don't.
The show is episode.
Okay.
Didn't we say this was a new start? Episode 100 falling apart. Episode 101.
I think episode 1 was better.
No, it wasn't. The show was doing
I don't
really
even know what to
well
say anymore.
right until this spot. Now, look, Molk is there still trying to work out the issue, so I might actually have to talk TV for him unless I can just try and see if he's okay. I'm just looking at my screen.
Okay, let's
Molk,
try this.
Can you hear me?
we can only hear you
No.
really, really softly.
I'm being kept prisoner by Rob McKnight.
We've all been there. Yes.
And never has a true word been spoken. All right. Molk, Molk, seriously, thanks for your insights. Now, this guy, can I just point out, was the technical guru, has been the technical guru for big multinational companies and can't get his sound right.
Oh, no, we're getting another message. Lie.
At least we know we can hear it.
Fantastic.
What we will do, though, if you want to hear Molk's insights, get the TV Black Box podcast tomorrow morning. So we'll talk. No, you'll be in the TV Black Box podcast tomorrow morning, Molk. You better be. You're turning up tonight. We'll see. Thank you, mate. We'll see you next week. Look, we will talk TV, and I guess I'll have to fill in for Molk. And how do I do this? Do I ask myself a question? Rob,
Wait, we've got one more message from Molk.
Had a nasty fall.
We've got one more message from Molk.
No insight. What, from you
No
or me,
insight.
Molk? Hey,
Well,
look,
Rob, should I just fill in? Should I fill in and ask you the question? Because, like, we talked about
Please
this
do.
a lot over the weekend. It is believed that Denise Drysdale's had a pretty nasty fall on Holy Moly. What can you tell us?
Yeah, she really did. And there's been varying reports about what actually happened. So we all know Ding Dong. She is a much-loved entertainer. She was on the set of Channel 7's new game show, Holy Moly, and she fell and actually had to require surgery on her back. Ben, it was like in 3 places, wasn't it?
Yeah, she did break part of her shoulder, so she had an operation for that on Saturday morning. I think she was supposed to come out of hospital. I was chatting to one of Denise's boys yesterday and this morning, and yeah, apparently she's on the mend. She should be out of hospital today. But look, at the end of the day, it's interesting when it comes to media. What gets reported early on is not normally the real story. We'd heard all kinds of things, that she'd been electrocuted, she'd been sent off a ride. But in true Denise Drysdale form, what had actually happened was that she saw the crowd and she loves the crowd. So she went up to entertain them, and it's believed that she had a bit of an accident there. She slipped over on her own accord. She managed to get away from those producers and put on a show that we all know and love. And I will say she is in recovery. Her sense of humor is still intact. So hopefully she's better soon.
I was able to report that on the TV Black Box website, but let me show you what was happening, because a lot of people thought she had the fall when she got electric shocked. She's taking part in Holy Moly, and show you what this kind of game is. I was actually on the set of Holy Moly the night Denise had her fall, but I didn't actually get to see Denise. Sorry, not that one. Yeah, that's the one. The game is crazy huge. This is the American one, and there's nothing faked up about this. Channel 7's production is big, it's huge, and it actually looks really impressive. But we've actually got footage of the game Denise was playing, the American version of it, and you will see what happens with those electric shocks.
Both of our competitors are wearing electrical bracelets around their legs and their forearms. They will get a surge every time they miss a putt.
This looks not bad. Oh, but she missed. Now she's got to deal with the hump.
What she really has to deal with is the shock she's going to feel right now.
Oh, Marty, get ready.
Uh-oh, Dr. Frankengoff is not happy. Here it comes.
Look at our set right now. You can see all the electrical power being drawn here.
I love this. I love this. More!
You feel it. Boy, did she feel it right there.
Yep, that got her.
Now, the assumption it was that Denise got the electric shock and had the fall. That is not the case. As we reported on the TV Black Box podcast website, and as Ben just said, she was actually playing up to the crowd, doing her chicken dance, and had the fall on a flat piece of ground. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, and hopefully she has a speedy recovery.
Absolutely, Rob. Now, there's some big changes on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Yeah, this is huge. So we all know the Australian version of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here has been shot in South Africa since its inception. A lot of people thought it was the Blue Mountains in New South Wales, but it isn't. It is actually in South Africa, and you can see Julia and Chris there on location. Well, it's going to look a lot different next year because they are actually shooting in Australia. They are coming to Australia, and they're going to use the set of the English version, which shoots in Murwillumbah in New South Wales. And that version is hosted by Anton Deck, of course, and this is what it'll look like. That's the nighttime shot, but we've got some daytime shots coming up in a moment. What's also interesting about this is it won't be on the 24-hour turnaround. So they are going to begin filming this later this month, in November, sorry. And it's all going to be pre-recorded like Big Brother. And it's going to be, they're going to be voted out by the other celebrities, and Australians will only get to vote for the actual winner like we did on Big Brother. So that will allow a lot of heavy producing. And as you can see by that shot, it looks very different to the South African version. Actually looks like it could be in a studio, but it's not. It will be on location. Big changes to the way they're doing it, and they're still casting as we speak. They're still trying to round up celebrities to go into the jungle, so it will be interesting to see who ends up there.
And then quickly before we go, because we've only got a minute left, can you tell us who has made it onto the cast of Celebrity Apprentice? Because Channel 9 announced that this morning.
Yeah, well, we can see the cast photo here. We announced this on the TV Black Box website yesterday. Channel 9 have confirmed our reporting, and we've got Janine Alice from Shark Tank as one of the advisors. The Veronicas are in there acting as one single group. We've also got Whipper from Nova. We've got Olivia Vivian from Australian Ninja Warrior, and Anthony Clear, among others, that are taking part in the new series. Which
I'm excited about David from Survivor. I think David from Survivor is going to be
popular one.
So exciting.
We are scraping the bottom there, aren't we, though?
Oh, no, he's very
scraping
popular,
the bottom of the barrel. No, all the list that you just gave me, but yeah. Can't wait for that one.
Do you know what, though? I will say sometimes, just sometimes, personalities can be better the less famous they are. And that is time for us to go. We will see you on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show tomorrow. Bye-bye.
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo